Who did you have to become to get where you are?
Yo soy Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria.
I have this quote, only those who risk are free. I was like, why the hell would Lucifer tell me that? Welcome to the Cashflow Cartel podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-mastery, and the journeys that entrepreneurs have to take to get to where they're at. I have a special guest, Jet Set, the one and only. Welcome, brother. Glad to have you on.
Thank you, bro. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man. So let's dive right into it, man. So what exactly do you do right now?
So I guess a little background context to give the audience a little bit more knowledge about me. But real quick, so my name is Josh King Madrid. I go by Jet Set on social media. Yeah, man. So over the years, a lot of people always ask me, like, hey, what do you do? What exactly do you do? Because I built a personal brand on social media and I built a large following. But I've never been like, like the e-com guy or like, the ATM guy, this specific guy. I've always been kind of, I guess you could say, broad. And I met a guy a couple of years ago and we ended up partnering up. And then after about a month of getting to know me, he quickly realized, he's like, I understand who you are, what you do now. He's like, you're like the world's ultimate, like, super affiliate. And the reason he says that is because my primary specialty would be like partnering with people who have very successful businesses coming in and like essentially partnering with them, not actually an affiliate, but doing their marketing and, acting as if I'm an affiliate and then being able to blow up that business. So if it comes to marketing, SEO, chatbots, social media, making things go viral, man, my brain is like wired just differently. It's wired like a freaking, I say it's maniac. It might be psycho, it might be maniac. I don't know what it is, but it's allowed me to essentially become absolutely great at internet marketing. And I would say that's probably my strongest skill set. And so all my companies, I pretty much play the same role within the company, whether it's different brands, whether it's ATM, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's consulting. I'm just coming in and I'm helping companies get more sales, get more traffic, get more views, and ultimately become more credible as an authority figure within whatever industry they're in.
Yeah, awesome, man. So where were you before all this? So like obviously, everyone has a starting point. What was yours?
Man, that's funny. So before all this, well, actually I was an entrepreneur my entire life. So when I was 7 years old, I remember all the kids in my school had like Vans. Vans were like trending. This was a very new thing. Yeah. And I really wanted a pair of Vans. And my parents were the type of parents, they would never buy me anything I asked for, but they would allow me to have like the basic things that I needed. Right, but they weren't going to get me an Xbox. They weren't going to give me a TV. They weren't going to get me like any additional stuff. It was just like, okay, you need one pair of shoes. You need like a couple pair of jeans, and like that's it. And so when I was in the second grade, 7 years old, I remember I really, really wanted Vans because all the skateboarders at my school had them. The skateboarders were like the cool kids, and I wanted to start skating. Yeah. And I was at the mall with my pops, and I asked them, and I was like, hey, like, can I get these pair of Vans? Like, can we check out the Vans store? And he was like, nope, you can't get them. Like, you already have a pair of shoes. And I'm like, these ones almost have holes in them. Like, my freaking toes are like, they're like Payless shoes, right? So like $15. My freaking feet are literally like, pretty much about to have holes, like, maybe a couple weeks away. And he's like, if you want to buy these, or if you want these shoes, you got to buy them with your own money. And I'm 7 years old. So I'm like, how do I buy this with my own money? Like, what money? I'm like, if I was gonna have any money, it'd be from you guys. And he's like, here's what we'll do. And my dad, he used to have a e-commerce business back in the late 1990s during the dot-com bubble. And it was doing $7 million in sales a year. And he was like 23, 24 while going to med school. And so he was juggling med school while also running an e-commerce brand and making millions of dollars a year. And like that was in the early 90s. So he's very familiar with e-commerce, how making money online worked. Yeah. And so he told me, he's like, here's what we're going to do. He's like, we'll go online, and I don't remember the site, DHgate, Alibaba, whatever it was, but he's like, we'll order some beanies. It was kind of during like Christmas season. He's like, we'll order some beanies. He's like, I'll loan you like $30. He's like, you take those beanies, you go to your school, and you sell these beanies to kids at your school, and then he's like, and then you pay me back, and then whatever money you have left over, you can go buy your shoes. And I was like, all right, I'm in, let's do it.
That's a great father right there.
Changed my life. At that moment, bro, it was an absolute paradigm shift. So I bought the beanies. I think it was like maybe 10 to 12 of them, a couple dollars per beanie. And then I sold them to kids at my school. Bro, I was having kids save their lunch money for 2-3 days, like, to buy these beanies. Kids would bring their parents to school, and I would literally sell their parents on why the kid needed a beanie. I'd be like, hey, look, this kid has it, that kid has it. All the kids are now rocking these beanies. These are the cool beanies. These, he needs to keep his head warm. And like literally the parent, how parents are, they're like, okay, yeah, how much? Okay. So they would buy the beanies, and I sold them all out, dude, like within like less than a week. Went to buy the Vans. It was like $40, and I was short. Ended up being like $42.70. And I was kind of confused because I was like, yo, I thought these vans were like, $39.99. And my dad's like, there's tax. And I was like, oh man. And he's like, I got you this time. He's like, I got you this time. I'll cover the tax. Don't worry about it. But he's like, that's a lesson that you need to pay attention to moving forward. And so at that moment, dude, I'm 7 years old. I was absolutely hooked. Like from second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, all the way up until graduating high school, I sold things. I bought my first car cash at 15 and a half. And it was about like 16 grand. It was a Hyundai Genesis Coupe Turbo 2.0, modded it out. The only time I actually ever had a job was literally that summer because all I really wanted was a car. I was a fan of Fast and Furious growing up, so all I really wanted was a car. Got the car and said, okay, I'll work like a little summer job as like a janitor to like just have some money to like buy car parts. Yeah. And I hated it, bro. I realized very quickly, I do not like getting my hands dirty. I don't want to freaking build no chairs. I don't want to freaking put the TV on the wall. I don't want to unbox no boxes. I do not want to get my hands dirty. I'll pay somebody to do it. And I still will do that to this day. Like, if I ever have a girl over and I get something from Amazon, oh, let's set it up. I'm not setting it up. Like, we'll go Craigslist, find somebody to set up for $5, bro. Like, I'm not going to set it up. And so I've always wanted to keep my hands clean. And so that led me into internet marketing, e-commerce, building brands, social media. And so that's my whole kind of journey through second grade to like pretty much graduating. If I had to guess, I'd probably say I made over 100 G's by the time I was like, 16, 17. And when I was 17 and a half, 18, I got recruited into a network marketing company. There was a company before that used to be called Vima. I'm sure you probably heard of it.
Everyone's heard of that.
YPR, Young People Revolution. Yeah. And I wasn't in Vima. I do remember getting invited to a couple of events when I was younger. But when Vima went through this whole ordeal, a lot of the people that left that company went to this new company called Zango. And right when they went to this new company, maybe like 2 or 3 months of that starting, somebody recruited me into that company. First 2 or 3 months, this is in high school, right? So my senior year of high school, first 2 or 3 months, went and made like, like $3,000-4,000 a month, built a team of like 500, 600 people. I was doing events every freaking day at my parents' house. By like 2 months in, my parents were starting to hate me because every single night the entire house was packed with like 60 kids, 70 kids, 80 kids who were buying these energy drinks to do network marketing. But I realized very quickly that doesn't last, at least for most people, because even though I could do it and I could run it all day, I can do all these events, I can speak, I was getting all these reps in. Most people, like, they're just not able to make that shift to completely change their identity within that short of an amount of time, right? But for me, because I saw the vision and I knew what it could be, I was able to do it. And so I quickly realized when a lot of my team members were quitting and they're like, oh, screw you, screw this, I didn't make any money, or, I don't want to do this anymore. I went online and I went on Google and I literally spent my entire summer from graduating to going to college of just researching for probably about like 2 months straight before I actually like pulled the trigger on anything on how to make money. The first search probably was like how to make money like network marketing, but without like network marketing and like going and doing anything in person. Yeah. And like after literally being on the 5th page of Google, 10th page of Google, freaking 20th page of YouTube, watching every video, reading every blog, I finally realized, okay, there's something called internet marketing, affiliate marketing, e-commerce, drop shipping, print on demand. And so when I finally felt like I had a grip of what it was, then I started. And I would say I was pretty much already an expert when I first started. And I don't recommend this for most people. I'm a maniac, so like it works for me because like I have absolute certainty in my decisions. I won't do something unless I have absolute certainty. Right. That decision is made long before I actually do whatever I'm doing. Like it's just a decision like, okay, do I believe on the other end I can do it? And that's just based on if I've seen somebody else do it or if I've seen something similar, then it's yes. Then I'll go do the research and then I'll hop on board. A lot of people will like try to get all the information and like read and do all this. And then what happens is like they never take action, and they're gonna get stuck. And then like, it's like they get paralyzed. It's like, what is it? Analysis paralysis. Yeah. Right. And so for me, I just knew I was already gonna do it. And so I already had the end goal in mind. I already knew it was already done. And so when I started, I put in a lot of hours. My first month, I made like $80. And this is like maybe a month before college or second month before college. Second month, it was $730. Third month was $1,350. Fourth month was like $4,250. Fifth month was like about $6,000. The next month was about like $13,000. The next month was $27,000. I'm like 4 or 5 months into college now. And I'm feeling like a baller, bro. Yeah. I went to UCI, or University of California, Irvine. Bro, you're making $13,000, $5,000, $20,000 in a month in college. I'm in a frat, right? Yeah. Bro, I'm pulling up to the parties with like 3-4 Ciroc bottles. The girls nickname me like residuals because I'm like, I'm making money online, passive income. And man, I'm having a blast, bro. And but that month I decided to drop out. So I dropped out. And then from there, the rest was history. You know, I had my first $100,000 a month of sales. About a year later, my first $100,000 month in profit. And then now I've had multiple $100,000 days, $100,000 hours. And man, it's been a crazy journey.
But I'm going to stop you there. So there's a lot of, you touched on a lot of things very, very quickly. You're very, very high energy, very have you always been like that?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. So, has there ever been like a low point that you had to struggle through? Because, you touched on a lot of your success.
Right.
But I think it's important for people to understand like the struggles that people have to go through to get to that success.
Right, yeah. So, there's been a lot of little struggles along the way. And I'll give you my perspective on how I see the world. I won't even call it a perspective, but really like a frame, like a lens on how I see the world. Because a lot of times, I think a lot of people get too hung up and like they soak in their low points and they identify with their low points. So that's the big problem. The big problem is people identify with their low points. And so this is why you see a lot of people who are like, I'm a, this, or I'm, ex-retired this, or, drug addict this, or came out of jail this, or came from this. And it's like they are still, even though they're successful, they still identify with the low points in their life.
Exactly.
And now I get it. It makes amazing stories, it's inspiring to other people. But however, as long as you identify with those low points, like you cannot not like still feel the pain from those.
You'll never exceed your self-identity.
Right. And so you're going to always kind of like be hanging on to that, and it's going to alter the way that you see the world. And it's going to keep you, and it's only a few decisions away, a few, bad, quote unquote downfalls or mishaps away from like going back into that state. Because a lot of people think we go through the world like based on like who we are, our, our, what they call it, personality, this is that. In reality, we go through the world based on our state. Because your personality is radically different when you're in a high state versus when you're in a low state. And so if you always are identifying, even while in a high state, with your lower state like identity or personality, then it's not that far away from experiencing it again. Just has to take a couple of different things to kind of trigger that. And
how would you say you keep in that high state of mind? Like, how do you keep that high frequency, that almost like, you were explaining it like last night when we first met, like, you always have to keep moving. You have to change your environment to stay in that fresh set of like, I can't even explain it.
Yeah, so I would say like the biggest thing is like, number one, I'm very cutthroat. Like I don't negotiate with myself. So for example, like if, a lot of people go back and forth in their mind and think a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like thinking. Like matter of fact, I would rather live without ever thinking. Like, unless it's a very like, okay, I'm going to think right now. And then it's a very concentrated session of thinking. And I wouldn't even call that really thinking. That's more like brainstorming, right? But a lot of people, because they don't really follow their bliss, follow the heart, or like, they're not in a flow state, they're not able to really experience life without like, there's always a resistance they're experiencing. Everything's always resisting. Versus for me, I'm like, I'm going to just follow the path that has the least resistance. And the path that has the least resistance is the path that makes me feel absolutely alive, absolutely excited, and absolutely inspired to do what I want to do.
But how do you find that?
It finds you. I don't even think it's something you really need to find. It's already within you. You just got to discover it. What you need to do instead of finding it is you need to remove the shit that's in the way, right? Because a lot of us, we have these beliefs, we have these ideas, we have these paradigms that are thrown into our mind based on what we've seen on TV, based on what we've seen on movies, based on what our parents told us, teachers told us, society's told us, the news. Bro, I don't look at none of that. So I guess that's probably number one. I don't look at jack shit. Bro, I watch maybe 3 Instagram stories a day. One of them is mine. The other one is whoever I'm with that day. And the other one is somebody I intentionally go look at because I want to go feel inspired. Like, I don't just, for 30, 40 stories, I don't do that. I've never done that. Why? Because I want to be the main character in my movie. Now, I'm not saying everybody should do what I do because, again, there's multiple people that inspire you. But for me, my vision is so large that there's not really stuff that I can go watch that unless I'm specifically saying, all right, I'm going to spend 1 hour and go analyze the competition. Then I'll do that, right? And I'll go watch 30, 40 people's stories. But I'm not just like, I wonder what he's up to. I wonder what he's up to. I wonder what she's up to. I'm not doing that, right? And so I'm the main character in my movie always. And so in my mind, whatever I'm doing is the biggest thing in the world right here, right now, right? I don't follow anything that makes me go like this. Oh, what the? Boom, unfollowed. Boom, blocked instantly, bro. So the way I stay in flow and the way I'm able to follow my bliss is anything that all of a sudden, boom, makes me not feel like me. Because I'm identifying with my high vibrating self. If it makes me not feel like me, ooh, what the? boom, that's low vibration. That's not me. This does not feel familiar. That is not who I identify with. Unfollow, block, never see it again.
And how did you learn that? You just learned it on
Bro,
your own?
it's just natural, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, why would I want to feel like shit? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, but that's the problem though. And I had to, give a big shout out to my parents, right? The way I was raised was that, like they really try to shield the negative things away from the world. So I would almost say I was living like in a fairy tale world, like growing up. And as I got older, I started realizing like, damn, that really happens. Then that always happens. And I'm like, oh, I don't even like that feeling of like going into that. I call it like a pendulum, going into that pendulum of this negative energy. I'm just going to like unsubscribe, unfollow. Like I'm just not, people be like, oh bro, you heard about the war. You heard about the, the tsunami. You heard about the earthquake. And I'm like, no, but that's crazy though. Anyways, so what are we going to do? How are we going to level up? How are we going to change the world? Like, I won't even go into the conversation, bro.
So I understand that, but I feel like there's also a point to where you also kind of have to understand what is going on around you to a certain extent,
Right.
So how do you balance that at all?
Yeah, so I think it's all about intention. Your intent, not just your intention. All intention is what sets the energy field of life. And for example, like if you don't have any intention, you're just gonna kind of, which is most people, you're just gonna kind of float around, and other people's intentions are gonna pick you up, and you're gonna be kind of just stuck doing what they want to do.
It's kind of like, have you read the book or Outwitting the Devil?
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
It's amazing. I would recommend the audiobook because you like hear like the devil speaking, but it's talking about drifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that concept, drifting.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And so if you don't have an intention, you don't have a plan, and you don't have like this is what I'm going to do, you'll just get picked up and drift around and like in with other people's lives. Like you don't have control. And I always say you need to have like the frame control. You need to be setting the frame. It needs to be your reality. You got to be the main character. And so when it comes to balancing out, like, and not being like delusional, it comes to me setting intention. Okay, what's going on in the world that's actually relevant for me based off of my goals, based off of my plans, based off of, what I'm doing. Some people, for example, they're like, oh, don't travel there, it's not safe, or don't do this, it's not safe, or, you gotta watch the news, because if you don't, like, you may end up somewhere that's not safe and get robbed and die. And this is the way I operate. A lot of people won't agree with it, but reality is they're wrong, is based on your vibration of what you're holding on into mind, like, of your end goal, who you are, how your life is gonna turn out, that's gonna determine like everything unconsciously. You don't even need to know. So if I know it's an absolute truth, I'm always safe. I've never been in a fight. I never got jumped. Like I never had to deal with any of those problems. Any problem I've ever had has been self-caused, which I believe all problems actually for everybody are self-caused. They just deny it and they're not willing to accept it. I get in a car accident. Somebody, for example, I had one of my pieces of jewelry stolen, $50,000 chain. But why did it get stolen? Why, it wasn't because, I ended up in the wrong place. It was because that day I had gotten in a car accident. I was shaken up. So I was like, instead of like me relaxing, letting go, being like, I'm safe now, went to the bar, said, yo, just give me like 4 or 5 drinks, like, Yeah. And I got in a state that was like essentially trying to escape. I was trying to escape reality instead of deal with reality head on. So what happens in that day, I get my freaking drink roofied, and then I get my chain freaking snatched by a chick.
Where was that?
This was in Vegas.
Oh,
right?
shit,
And so Sin City, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it took me one day of being mad, pissed off, blaming it on her. Then all of a sudden I rewound back in my mind, and I quickly, bro, figure out, okay, it all started the second I decided, instead of like relaxing, taking a shower, like working out, getting that anxiousness or like, just shaking upness out of me and be like, okay, I'm fine now, or praying or whatever, visualizing. I said, boom, I need 4 drinks, my man, doubles. And so that all of a sudden now I let go of my control. And so all of a sudden now I'm operating at a lower frequency, which puts me in lower frequency events, lower frequency scenarios. I'm willing to do lower frequency things that I would not do as the highest version of myself, the higher, vibrating version of myself. So therefore I experience lower frequency realities. And I get my chain fucking snatched.
I think that's super important, like extreme accountability, because like, and what you said is true, is like everyone's, the cause of their own like problems. Right. And, when I was younger, I hung around a bad crowd. I was doing dumb shit, and dumb shit always happened. But when I removed myself and I started to change my identity, I don't deal with any of those problems anymore. So I see exactly like your point of like staying in that high frequency and not even allowing that stuff to even happen. Right.
And I think another part that's super important is like being able to learn patterns, because all the world is, all the universe is, all life is patterns and pattern recognition. Only reason you know your name, only reason a dog knows his name, only reason like anything knows anything is because it's a pattern that's been set and established in their brain, and that triggers a certain response. So for example, the prompt or like the trigger is like, if I say, yo, John, right? That's like a trigger that would trigger my brother to have like a prompt that goes, yo, what's up, right? But if I go, yo, Bon, he might kind of look a little bit, but he's not going to respond, right? Because that's not the exact pattern, right? But under a different context, these patterns may change because let's say we're in a different country and somebody else calls his name but slightly pronounces it wrong, but it sounds familiar. He might go, oh, I'm in a different country, so they may have pronunciation issues. So I'm gonna still respond because he may be talking to me because I don't know who else he would be talking to, right? So the patterns they change under different contexts, and so the problem with most people is they will go through the same pattern over and over and over and over. The context will be damn near the same. It'll just be a different content, so a different story. It'll be like for example, we've all know girls who end up with the same dude over and over and over and over.
Yeah. And
it's like the same guy with a different story, with a different outfit, with like a different, height. But yet, like, they mistreat them. They don't, the girl ends up with like bruises or something, or like she's sad, or she's depressed or whatever.
Yeah.
But every time she finds another guy, she's like, oh, but he's different.
Yeah.
And then it's the same fucking dude. And I'm like, you said that about the last 5 dudes. What do you not get? The pattern is that they put on one front, and then you fall for it because that's what, you feel like, XYZ, whatever. And then they switch it up. So what part of you is identifying with that pattern? And so, because we can't stop every negative event from happening to us. That's life. Right. But the key is to figure out very quickly, for me, I try to not let things happen more than 2 or 3 times. 3 times is you definitely should be able to establish a pattern by 3 times. But when I see something, I go, okay, this happened here. I don't like that result. Okay, what happened before that? What happened? How was I feeling? What was I thinking? What was I saying? Okay, boom, it happened again. Okay, what are the similarities between this time and last time that allowed me to get finessed? Okay, it happened a 3rd time? I got it now, bro. I got it. I'm like, okay, this, that, gone. Or a lot of times it's not just like cutting out external things, but it's a difference that I gotta make. I gotta set my boundaries. I gotta set clear expectations. I gotta be more assertive. If somebody's doing something I don't like, where instead of just kind of like trying to be nice and not saying anything, but hey, bro, I don't roll like that. You gotta stop. If you're not gonna stop, then this is done. And so being very blunt, right? You gotta tell the world what you want. Tell the universe what you want. How you gonna get it? You can't expect people or the world to know, like, to assume like, whatever you want and then do it.
Yeah, you gotta stand on your shit and fucking go after it.
Exactly, bro. So I would say that's like the biggest thing. So kind of wrap it up back into the question is like, how do you kind of balance it is number one, my intention, bro, I always know I'm safe. Anywhere I go, I'm safe. Everywhere I go, I'm safe. So because I know that, I'm not walking around with some scared ass vibration, nervous, paranoid, tripping, freaking because when you do that, that's when some shit happens because you're attracting it because you're literally in the vibration of the reality of where that should happen because you're already reacting as if it did happen, right? Because you're creating in your mind an imaginary scenario that's not reality. And so, bro, I say I could walk through the freaking most ghetto hood, the most crazy, freaking war zone with $1 million strapped to my freaking head, right? My eyes closed, and I'll be fine, right? Now, I say that example.
Okay.
To like prove a point that number one, I wouldn't do that because now you're testing the universe, you're testing the world. But to show you that essentially anywhere I go, I know I'm good. Otherwise, I wouldn't go there, right? So because I wouldn't do that is because you don't test the people who are already in temptation and they want to kind of like that's the reality. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, if you could just follow your heart and you know that you're safe and you know that you're in alignment with everything else in life, you're gonna be good. But however, here's what I mean. I would never, for example, let's say somebody's like, hey, try these drugs. If I analyze my state and was like, how am I feeling? Man, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm going through it. I would not touch them because I'm like, I'll probably die. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But when I was blissed out, life's great. I've been providing value to the entire world. I've been giving, just doing the absolute best that I could possibly be of service to the world. So it was like, do these drugs. Now I'm gonna still research them for 5-6 hours and make sure I know everything. But like, I may be willing to do it. I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, but I may be willing to do it. And if I did do it, I would know that I'd be safe. I wouldn't be thinking like, oh fuck, what if I die from this? Because I'm not in the vibrational reality where I'm aligned with that, right? So it's like you gotta know you because you can't know the world and you can't know others unless you know you.
Understand that. So I mean, so there's also like that preparedness. So you're making sure that if you do take this action, you know the recourse and you'll be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm always okay with like I say, you make your bed and I lay in it, right? Like I'm always okay with whatever outcome I get. Like if it's not the one I want, I'm like, well, dude, that was me. It's all me. Like, so as long as I can take absolute ownership and knowing it was me, I get my fulfillment from that. Like, if I fuck up, I'm like, bro, that was me. I fucked up, bro. Like, that's my bad. Like, I'm not gonna say sorry because it's already done. It's already gone, and I don't feel sorry for my actions. At the time, I thought about the whatever actions I took. Like, I was under the full impression that this makes sense for me at this moment, right here, right now, and so I'm doing it. Yeah. And so if I do it, if the result is not what I want, I'm not gonna say sorry because the action was the result that I wanted to take. And so I think sorry is like a scapegoat for a lot of people to, like, essentially, I don't even know the word what it would be, but it's like to make the other person feel some sort of way and like to kind of like let go of the responsibility versus like, you know, like for example, I got here, you know, today is hectic, you know, go through a couple things and you're like, you know, a little bit after the time, you know, but we're making it here. I go, boom, appreciate you for your patience, bro. Right? I don't go, oh man, I'm so sorry I'm late, bro. Yeah. Right? Because now I'm starting off the beginning of the conversation with a feeling of guilt, with a feeling of shame, with a feeling of that not good enough versus a feeling of gratitude, a feeling of appreciation, a feeling of that, like, you know, collaboration. Hey, we're in this together. Yeah. And like, you know, I appreciate you for that. And so I'm always just, how do I change the frame of reality to create an emotion, create an experience that's empowering versus disempowering for me and for everybody else around me?
That's some powerful shit. So we've hit a lot on mindset, and I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into like the businesses that you're currently, you know, operating right now, and what your vision is for the future.
Sir.
So what exactly are you working on right now, and what do you plan on for? Because you said that you have a very big vision, and I kind of want to get into that after we touch on what you're doing right now.
Cool. So I'll say the biggest thing that I'm doing right now, besides social media, obviously like the back burner of a lot of my success and like the foundation of a lot of my success over the last 6-7 years has been the fact that I've built a personal brand. So I'll dive into that very quickly. Because if you're watching this right now and you do not have a personal brand, first of all, you do have a personal brand. Everybody has a personal brand. You cannot not have a personal brand. It's just, is your personal brand solid? Is it amazing? Or is it, you know, is it shit? Yeah. And so a lot of people, they think they don't need to have a personal brand because a lot of them are not selling anything. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not trying to be famous. But the reality is, dude, like if you look at the stats, like 60 or 70% of employers, they're Googling you, they're looking at your social media, they're looking at what you do, and to see, hey, should they work for us or should they not work for us? Colleges, before people are applying to college, they're looking at the social media, right? You can have the same, you have a 4.0, she has a 4.0, you have, you know, these grades, these classes, these qualifications, so does she. Okay, boom, social media search. You're partying, you're doing stupid shit, you're doing drugs, you're handing things out to the community, educating people, inspiring people. Who are they going to choose? Yeah. Right? It's obvious. And so everybody has a personal brand. And over time, right now it's not that competitive, but over time it's going to continue to get more competitive because you have X amount of people with the same name as you, X amount of people with the same idea as you, X amount of people with the same vision as you, same business, same, like, you know, all these different things. And so what's going to set you apart and give you the maximum level of opportunity in this world is your ability to brand yourself, brand your story, and really craft an image, craft a perception around who you are, what you do. For me personally, bro, I've went through, you know, periods in business that were, you know, not doing the numbers that I'm used to doing, and, you know, harder times that were, you know, I felt like, man, I'm by myself, you know, what happened? I used to have a team, X amount of people, yada, yada. And what saved my ass, bro, was the fact that I built a personal brand and gave so much value to people for so many years that whenever I just needed help, bro, there's like literally hundreds of people willing to extend their hand out and be like, yo, bro, yo, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. Oh, come stay with me. And so that was never my intention. That was never my plan. Yeah. I realized after the fact, holy shit, I virtually put my one hand out to the world and gave and gave and gave. And then years later, like multimillionaires, 8-figure earners, 9-figure earners, all of a sudden we're giving the hands back. I had 100 hands, in front of my face. Like, what do you need? What do you got? Let's do something. Let's work. Yeah. And I'm like, and these weren't 8-figure, 9-figure earners back when I was doing it, right? But these were people who contribute a lot of their success, a lot of their inspiration, a lot of their motivation of knowing what's possible to me. And so, like, it was a no-brainer for them to be like, yo, let's work, let's do this, let's do that. Right. And so, with that said, personal branding for me is always number one. Always number one. I believe in it more than I believe in anything else freaking in this world besides God. And actually, I don't even believe in God. I just know that God's real. And so personal branding, that's got to be the foundation. It's going to give you more opportunities than anything. I mean, dude, I shouldn't even have to explain it. It's obvious. But somebody's watching this podcast right now. They already understand personal branding. Yeah. Otherwise, they would be listening to this podcast.
I mean, dude, like I completely agree with that. I used to have my IG handle as Papi Alcajandro, and then I didn't want to identify as the alcoholic that was just always partying and shit like
That's
that.
funny.
So I went to an entrepreneurial event and got inspired, changed my IG handle that day, and saw all these other people that were making on social media. And I was like, you know what? There's no difference between what they're doing and what I could do. So I just started. And it took some time. It took like a year or two to like build like an organic following.
Right.
But, it happened. And now like I have people reaching out to me that like, yo, man, you really inspire me. Like, and all I'm doing is just being authentic and just documenting what I've been doing.
What you're doing, bro.
And it's crazy because I don't think I'm inspiring anyone. I'm just doing what I'm doing.
You never know. You never know until later.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is like your biggest motivation shouldn't be necessarily to inspire people, shouldn't be to like get rich. It's just like to document your journey so you can look back at it, your kids can look back at it, their kids and so on can look back at it. And then also you can use it as like a marker, like a point, like, oh man, I was doing this and look how I thought then, look how I talked then. I thought I was good then, but now look at this. Oh, but I thought I was good then, but now look where I'm at, right? Because you're going to always do that because you're always going to improve, you're always going to get better. I have all my highlights up, dude, from like 2016. Like I have everything cool, every business, behind the scenes, travel, they're all there, right? So like, I don't put them there so somebody else can go watch my whole life. I put it there so like whenever I need that inspo, I can be like, damn, dude, like if I'm taking this for granted, look where I was back then.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I got, so that will get me fired up. And so that's why I like personal branding for me. It's like a personal selfish reason because it keeps me able to keep going because I have like documentation. It's like writing a book in lifetime,
Yeah.
And so personal branding, number one. The second thing that I've been focused on really probably over the last maybe 13 months, and this is something a lot of people are sleeping on, but I'm telling you right now, it is the number one thing moving forward. But it's like your overall brand management, as in terms of not just social media, not just like, all the different platforms, YouTube, et cetera, but your SEO, your Google panels, like, your ability, because what's the first thing people do when they see you on social media? For example, let's say, especially now that the Meta Verify came out and Twitter Blue came out, where the playing field essentially got evened out. Right, because back in the day, only a few people who knew the right people or like had the right plugs were actually extremely
like
famous.
$25,000 for the fucking blue check and all that shit.
Those were the only people who had like special access.
Yeah.
But now the playing field has been evened out. It's been leveled out. Right, so it's a whole new start. I had so many friends call me, bro. Like people, millions of followers call me when that all happened. Like, bro, what do we do now? It's like, everybody has a blue check. Da da da. Like, how do I get ahead? And I'm telling you right now, dude, whether you have, let's say you have 300 followers and you're verified, or you have 300 million and you're verified. If you go follow a guy, a girl, whatever, they're going to look at your page. They're going to quickly make an assessment. They're going to look at your content and go, unconsciously, is this person worth being verified or not? If they think you are unconsciously, they're like, let me Google him real quick. Let me search him up real quick. What are they about? If they don't think you're qualified, because they're like, why is this person verified? What? They're going to also Google you to be like, is he legit? Is he actually just somebody who's super famous but low key? Or is he just like a poser? Right? But either way, people are going to go and they're going to want to cross-reference that information on another platform. And the most used platform in the world, the biggest, most users, most searches is Google, right? And Google controls YouTube. And what a lot of people don't know that I figured out about maybe 7-8 months ago is Google's actually feeding the information from the searches to all the algorithms. All the algorithms on every platform are pulling data strictly from Google. And so if you're crushing it on Google, like you have a strong online presence, like let's say you rank for entrepreneurship, podcast, this is that.
So what are some actionable steps to create that presence on Google to where you're in the algorithm, like?
Yeah, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you got to make sure that you have every platform, right? Because every platform is going to rank. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, podcast, Twitter, what else? Pinterest, blog, every single platform you need. Because otherwise, Google's going to confuse you with somebody that has the same name. Right? And so you want to quickly, I call it digital real estate. You want to quickly build that presence of your digital real estate and make sure it's all aligned. Like, like all similar bio, similar, like has all the same attributes. So Google can quickly go, okay, we understand that this name, somebody searches this, they're looking for this individual, right? The next thing you want to do is you got to start putting out your content instead of just one platform, distributing it across multiple platforms.
Is there like a service or a software that does that to where you just put it there and then it distributes it to all
there's
the
a couple different tools. One of them is like, I think it's called like repurposetool.com, repurposetool.com. But none of them are going to be absolutely perfect because like the different platforms have different formats and styling. So ideally, you'd want to start with something like that, but over time, you want to build systems build like a team and actually have them
Like,
purpose your content
yeah.
for the platform.
Because I know like high quality content doesn't really do good on TikTok, and then like
Right.
you know each platform has their own little niche of
Right.
type of content that blows up.
Yeah, so I would say like, but you still though, at least if you're not like gonna take it super serious, just at least do that. That's better than nothing, right? It's better than having zero presence. I would blog, like if you do Instagram caption saying something motivational, a lot of people do it, especially in our space. Take that caption and go expand on it and just put it on a medium.com on a blog, because now people 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years later may stumble across it when you really blow up, and they'll be able to get insight into who you are, and that strengthens the relationship they have with your brand. I've been doing this since 2017. Now, bro, with AI is so easy, bro. It's so easy, bro. Like, it's fucking it's a joke.
So how are you using AI to benefit from all that?
Dude, I'll take all my content, I'll take my captions, I'll take the transcriptions of my videos, and I'll dump them into different, different AI tools. My favorite one is like Write Sonic.
Right, Sonic?
Yeah, Write Sonic.
Okay.
It's an amazing tool, bro. I got a couple other ones. I don't like, they're like weird names, like different languages, but like they're essentially, dude, there's a ton. You can search up online, go on Google, you'll find like, different tools. But I'll dump all my content, all my articles. Like I written for Forbes, written for Rolling Stone, Entrepreneur, Fast Company, tons of different big platforms.
How did you get connected to be able to do that?
So a lot of these platforms have different like councils. So like you can apply if you make over like a couple $1 million a year. I think Forbes maybe 800,000, Fast Company's like 3 million. You just like show them all your like stats, and then you apply, and then you be able to become like, you have to pay, and then you get in, and you're able to like essentially have access to like a high network of individuals who all also met those requirements, and then you have the ability to like write and publish.
Okay.
And so I did that a couple years ago, and so that was a cool process, because while doing that, it demanded of me to write better, to be more methodical, to put more like thought into how I write versus just kind of whipping some shit up and like, throwing it up. It has to meet certain requirements. So, it challenges your mind. It reminds me kind of a lot like school. But I'll take all these different pieces of content that I create between captions, those articles, etc., and I'll put them into an AI tool, and essentially tell the AI tool to learn my tone, learn my languaging, learn my speaking patterns, learn how I make analysis, metaphors, learn how I talk about cognitive biases, like learn like the structure of my language.
Yeah.
And so now if I want to write a caption, I can just go into these tools and like, write a caption about, why somebody needs to, create their own frame of reality. And in that frame, it's absolutely, critical that they don't allow anything into the frame that disempowers them. Everything must be empowering. And that, essentially, if they don't, like something doesn't exist until you acknowledge it, right? I don't know if you heard about the consciousness double slit test. There's a test in consciousness, and essentially what it says is like when they shot the beam like through this at its wall, and there's like little slits inside the wall. Essentially, what it would do, it would go through like a light wave, like a wave, right? But when somebody looked at it, it went through as a particle. But when nobody was looking at it, it was a wave. And so essentially, consciousness itself, it was required for this, beam of energy to go from a wave into a particle. A wave would be like, your potential, right? Like it's like the potentiality of something happening. It's like the field, right? The infinite universe. A particle is mass, right? It's reality.
Right.
And so reality, essentially, based on quantum physics, does not actually exist until there's an observer. So it's like that famous quote. It's like, if a tree fell inside of a forest, but no one's around to hear it, did it make a sound? And some people will say, yeah, well, somebody sound, but how do you know who heard it? Because the sound is something that must be heard, right? And to be heard, you need a conscious being to hear it. And so there's nobody around to hear it, then there was no sound. It was just a wave. It was just a freaking wave of, essentially a sound wave passing through, space and the non-space. And only until somebody is around does the wave, boom, collapses into a particle, right? And becomes reality. So I tell people, I'm like, bro, this is how I like to go through the world. This is how I like to go through life. I like to go through life like the world is Grand Theft Auto, right? If you're playing Grand Theft Auto and you're running through the map, right? And you see a little notification pop up in the top of your screen, and it's like on the other side of the world, there's giant bombing, bus blew up, there's a tsunami, earthquake, whatever.
Yeah.
Are you gonna pause your game in Grand Theft Auto, even though it's on another map? Stop your game, stop your mission that you are destined to achieve, and go click on the notification. You're stopping space, you're stopping time, you're not moving anywhere, not going anywhere physically, not doing anything no more. and put all your energy into learning about this event that will never affect you, at least consciously, and maybe some people say, well, it could affect you in other ways you don't know. Yeah, but you don't know until you know how it affects you because if you know the event, right? So I'll give you a great example. I went and I did like literally a year off, 2 years off in business, and I went up to the mountains. We have a house up in Big Bear, and I just stayed up there, learned a bunch of skill sets, read like 300 books, and and then I did even another period of like 6 to 8 months of meditating like 8 to 10 hours a day. Bro, I've never seen anybody with a mask. I never experienced COVID. I never seen nobody with a mask. I never had to worry about like people coughing, like because I was up there by myself for like a whole year and a half.
Holy shit.
You know what I'm saying? And so by the time I got done, COVID was pretty much over. Mm-hmm. And so when everyone was like, oh, that's crazy, this is that, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? And like, and all these people had all these problems and issues, and I just didn't experience them. And I'm like, well, maybe, and I get into like the more like philosophy, the philosophy of it. I'm like, is it because my frame was so strong in reality that I said I'm always safe? This is how I move, this is how whatever. That unconsciously, before COVID even happened, that I made these decisions or I let these things in my life happen to alter my situation, put me in a different situation. Because, bro, like, if I put a mask on for like 30 seconds, I'll start freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot wear a mask, bro. Like, for me, like, deviating septum, I found out recently, like, breathing problems. So, like, I put on a mask, I can barely breathe. I'm like actually dying. Like, I'm more likely to die from wearing a mask than like getting COVID.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
No one was really fucking dying from COVID. I mean, some people, you know what I mean?
And so, but the point of that though is that like, I'm not leaving my map. I'm not stopping the game mid-game to go focus on a reality that doesn't exist because I give it existence. When I let it into my mind, when I let it into my consciousness, that gives it existence. So if somebody's dog got shot and he tells me, the dog got shot in my mind, not in reality, because your mind is reality, right? If I cut off all your 5 senses, close your eyes, plug your nose, freaking, put some earmuffs over your ears, don't allow you to feel anything, right? What's reality? What is it? I mean, you're pretty much dead, right?
Right.
Like, so you're only now in your mind. Mm-hmm. And so only does reality like switch back on when you start using your 5 senses. And so if you don't allow it into your 5 senses, then it has no real basis. Can the what's it called, ripple effect, the butterfly effect, still affect you from the actions of those events, consequences of those events? Yeah, duh. But if you don't know it's because of that event, what difference does it make? You know what I'm saying? Like, what difference does it make? It's cold outside because it's just cold. Versus like it's cold outside because there's like a nuclear explosion like the other side of the world, but like it won't really affect us here. But like now it's just colder, or whatever. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And so like for me, there hasn't been a situation where like that's been proven a faulty belief to live by. Now, could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. But my mindset, my frame is that whatever frame allows me to be the best, most empowered version of me is the one I'm gonna have. So I'm willing to switch it up any given second. If somebody shows me something better, that's my idea. That's my vision. That's how I live. And I'll drop the last one. I'm not attached to it anyway. But the core premise of it, though, is it's the most empowering. Like, the most empowering belief, the most empowering frame to go have through the world is to just commit to having the most empowering frame. And if something else comes along better that's more empowering, drop the old one.
Yeah, I think Andrew Tate kind of has the same mindset because when he was locked up and his friend tried to get him out of jail because of the whole cancer thing, he's like, no, I don't have cancer. I smoke 20 cigars a day. It's not going to happen. I'm the epitome of a human being. I will never, allow my body and my mind to accept that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
and you're always going to do better. And, and God forbid something like that actually happens. Well, now you're dealing with it in the moment, in the time, lifetime, and you do everything you can with everything you got. Right. But you're not psyching yourself out, bro. Like, there's a famous quote. I want to say it was like Marcus Aurelius said it, but I think it's like 99% of the things that I had feared in my life, where was it? So 99% of the things that I feared in my life, I can't quote what exactly.
I mean, a short version is like you can't stress about something until it's even happened. You know what I mean?
You gotta be in the present moment, bro.
Yeah,
that's flow state. Is in the present moment.
It's not. It's not there. It's not happening. So you're stealing joy from tomorrow or in the present moment. By stressing about something that's not even happening.
Right. Also, you're altering on a spiritual and mental level. You're altering your vibration at a time where that vibration it could be far away. It could be in actual reality. That's actually gonna happen. Mm-hmm. But if you're altering your vibration now, you're actually aligning and increasing the chances of that happening in the future. So, dude, all the people that I know who are the most like COVID, wear a mask, like don't want to get COVID, like this, stay away from me. They all got fucking COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, my girlfriend at the time literally had COVID. She came over, slept by me like 3 days. Like she's like dying, bro, dying. Like, and I'm just laying in bed like, nah, I'm always safe. I'm always safe. I'm always safe. I'm always safe. Like, you know?
Yeah.
And bro, nothing. Like, you know, I was solid, bro. And she's literally like right next to me, like laying in bed. Like, first of all, I didn't even call it COVID. I'm like, oh, she probably just got like a little cough or something, like, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and it's, but everybody that I know who is the most like, you know, we got to do everything, spray down everything, like, you know, they all got COVID.
Yep.
Sometimes 2-3 times.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's just crazy to me. Like, you know, I mean, it's not crazy to me because for me, in my world, in my reality, it makes perfect sense.
They accepted it before it even happened.
Right.
They feared it and accepted that was a possibility. And
Right.
then
So
when
they got prepared for it.
that, they prepared for it and they accepted that it was going to come.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, by the way the world works, because I said we live in a perfect universe, bro, right? Like, how can we not live in a perfect universe? Everything at all times is somehow, like, the world's spinning. Like, you know, freaking these other planets, they're spinning, this, you know, around, like, everything is perfect. Matter of fact, bro, it's impossible for anything to not happen perfectly. Here's what I mean. A lot of people will be like, I manifested and I thought about this and then I got it and then I saw it. Oh my God, manifesting's real. And then like when manifesting's not working, I tried to manifest and like I was writing down my goals and this is that. And it never worked. It never happened. And like, you know, I was trying to keep a positive mindset and then, you know, but you don't get it. Shit's tough. Like, you know, so how, and I'm like, bro, no, I do get it, bro. Like, you're saying shit's tough. You try to keep a positive mindset, but you said shit's tough. So shit's gonna continue to be tough because your frame of reality is shit's tough. Yeah. Right? People will be like, oh, like, you know, manifesting worked this time, and then now sometimes it doesn't work. My bro, you have a shitty mindset, you have a broke attitude, you have poverty habits, you have a poverty mindset, you're complaining all the time, and you have an absolute shitty, horrendous life.
Yeah.
That's a perfect match. That's freaking law of attraction, perfect match. Whereas this individual has, you know, the best habits, is absolutely productive, gives value to the world, is like, believes that they're worthy and deserving of all the blessings that are continuing to come their way, and have absolutely everything they want. Perfect match. And so you can't tell me that, like, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It's always working. It's not like a button you turn on. It's the world. That's how the world works. Is everything's vibration, right? Now, sometimes you may think you're doing something, or you may, you know, something may be outside of your awareness that you're doing because it's unconscious. You don't really understand the pattern. And you may fuck yourself up and be like, oh man, I tried to manifest and the opposite happened. But you still manifested that. It's just you were unaware of the vibration you're holding. Therefore, you attracted events you're unaware of to your life that were happening, right? And so you always are like, you can't not manifest. You cannot not have a perfect reality. Life is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It goes from perfect to perfect. If you don't like what you're seeing, then there's something inside of you that you don't like, and that's why you're attracting it, you know? And so, like, when it comes to building a business, building a brand, that even goes back to, like, personal branding. People are like, oh, my videos don't take off. Nobody watches my shit. Bro, I could just tell by the way you talk, you don't like you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so why would anybody else like you?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, people, oh, Josh, yo, bro, how you so good at speaking? How you have so much high energy? How you so... And I'm like, bro, just that question alone lets me know that you do not like the way you speak. You do not think you're capable of, you know, having these abilities, and you do not think you're worthy enough. And so therefore, it makes absolute perfect sense that nobody listens to your shit. And you get no engagement, you get no shares. Yeah. When I speak, bro, I'm like, John's like, yo, you're not going to talk about the podcast? I'm like, bro, whatever you talk about, I'm going to crush it, bro. As I'm the best speaker on planet Earth, bro. Best podcaster on planet Earth, bro. Whatever I do is gold. Yeah. And I was like, that's it. I'm like, so I'm good. Don't worry about it. And he's like, bro, but you know, the topic, I'm like, doesn't really matter. Like, 'cause I'm going to crush it.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Man, I think there's a important, there's a book called As a Man Thinketh. And it's like, as a man thinketh, so it is. Yeah. Yeah. So that's exactly, like, that's a perfect analogy for, like, what you're explaining right now.
Right. And it's like what you said earlier, bro. It's like, you cannot perform your self-image. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and I've had a rude awakening one time because, like, this is what I was telling you yesterday. I'm so used to living my life in flow state that the first time I started hearing thoughts, I realized these were thoughts that I don't even like. So I was like, what the fuck? I remember looking in the mirror. I'm like, weak, ugly, out of shape, beard overgrown, like, you know, like struggling, trying to come back, like all these different things that I thought about myself. I was looking in the mirror. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I'm like, I know when I was doing XYZ and getting XYZ results before, I was never looked in the mirror and thought that. Yeah. Matter of fact, I just looked in the mirror, Yeah. I never even, like, right? Because it wasn't even like, oh, you're so great, you're so beast. That was normal to me. right? So I didn't need to affirm what is normal to me. You might need to do that on the way, but then you get used to it. So if you're the type of guy that makes $5 a day, you don't go in the mirror and go, I make $5 a day, I make $5 a day, right?
Yeah.
Like, but if you want to make 10, you might start saying I make 10. So you'll do that for a bit until it's normal to you. And so you're always kind of like essentially throwing the goalposts and you're moving it out a little bit ahead. But eventually you just know that, like, you ask me what my long-term plans are. When people ask me that, I go, it's big, but it's not really like I'm going to be worth $3 billion because I don't want to fucking cut myself short. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what I would be doing.
Do you think it's important though to have a clear, like, have clarity on what you're working towards, or do you just kind of work towards whatever and just be in that flow
I think
state?
you should have absolute clarity, absolute extreme clarity. Everything you do, you should be absolutely certain on like what the end outcome is, but that end outcome shouldn't be like absolute. Like the end outcome should be like end outcome plus X.
So give an example that you would.
For example, it's like, okay, dude, I want to build my business. I want to become a multi-millionaire. I want to make $10 million. I make $20 million plus X. Like, that's just one part. I may do that in 12 months. So if I just say that's my goal for life, well, now I'm going to take fucking 30 years to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Elon Musk said something about that. Like, you should plan to do something in like half the time or like a year. And then, you'll get a lot further ahead by just working towards that goal.
Right.
Even if you don't hit
bro.
it.
I mean, I've read something before and I had a paradigm shift. This was actually recently. And it was said like, okay, the speaker was like, I was in a room and I said, if you wanted to grow your business by 10% this year, what would you do? Write it down. Everybody wrote down like 10 different, like every single way you could possibly think of to grow it by 10%. Everybody had like 15, 20, 30 different things written down. And then he's like, okay, right away, you guys can see like this is information overload. There's so many different ways to do it by 10%. All you have to do is really just pick one and fucking do it. That's all you got to do. But he's like, but if I said you had a 10x or 100x your business this year, write down every way to do it. Number one, you're not going to have that many ways. There's not going to be 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 things you could do. Number two, you're going to have to be a lot more methodical. Right, that's what I was saying. I'll plan to think. Right, I'll do a brainstorm session, but I'm not just thinking. Should I do this? Should I do that? It's a planned session, a brainstorm that's like essentially to allow me to help quantum leap. Right. And so if I said you had 100x your business, 100x your followers, 100x your impact, 100x your cash flow, 100x your net worth in 12 months, what are you gonna do? Now I got to sit down. I got to really think. I'm gonna have to call in counsel, go find mentors. I'm gonna have to do some more research. I'm going to have to expand the amount of input in my mind so I can produce that type of output. And so when I really get down to it, it's going to be like one or two ways. And it's going to be like, and I don't even know if it'll work. Yeah. Right? But however, when you think that big and you push yourself that big, because if you can think it in your mind, right? If you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, it's going to work. Yeah. Or it's going to put you on the path to finding the way that will work. That way specifically might not work. But what you learn on that journey will take you to where you need to go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's either you fail or you fail. Either you fail forward or you fail by not even trying.
Right. And so you're gonna learn no matter what. Right? You take a shot, you're gonna learn. And so now all of a sudden I got 100x my income. 90% of the shit that I would have wrote down if I was just trying to increase it by 10x or by 10%, irrelevant. I wouldn't be like posting extra one time a day. I would, do an extra call to action. No, bro, fucking, if I need 100x my income, everything else, boom. I realize it's all irrelevant. Here's what I need to do. I need to run a massive game plan. I need to recruit, 10,000 affiliates. I need to go door to door to every freaking door in the nation. Yeah. Right? I need to spend 100 million, like whatever it is. But you're gonna go to the most productive and the most result producing thing. And you realize everything else is irrelevant. And so a lot of us, we spend a lot of time, a lot of energy on irrelevant shit. Yep. Because we feel like it's moving us forward because we get a little bit of results, a little bit of dopamine from it. Yep. And I say don't confuse the dopamine with actually being productive and getting closer to your goals.
Yeah. The dopamine, the cheap dopamine fixes are what keep a lot of people stagnant and comfortable where they're at. And I think what you're saying is to step outside of that and realize what you're actually doing and what's actually going to move the needle.
Right. And don't a lot of people bathe and indulge in those little wins when they're not really wins. Like,
Yeah.
you got to accept that you're a winner and then go.
Job's not done.
Right. Like a lot of people be like, oh, look, bro, my post viral, da da. I'm like, good, it's supposed to go viral.
Yeah.
Next video, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh, but bro, like you're not going to, like, what do you want? Congratulations.
Yeah.
Bro, you're supposed to go viral. You're an absolute stud, bro. You're a winner, bro. We wouldn't be around me if you're not a winner.
Your
You know?
life should be just nothing but winning. Not
Right.
just that one little blip in time. Like
Right.
you should be a consistent like winning.
Right, because if you keep like kind of harnessing those accomplishments and like you're making them bigger than they actually are.
Yeah.
You're squeezing more dopamine in it than it is worth and deserves. And now you're bringing along the past with you to the future.
Yep.
And versus having an absolute clear view of what's next.
Yep.
You know, so if I get a win, it's like, oh, boom, okay, that worked. What's the pattern that allowed me to get it? Okay, got the pattern, boom, next.
Yep.
Boom, next. Boom. Like, Robbie,
You
people
gotta
like,
keep moving.
yo, what happened? You remember last week? I'm like, I have no clue. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Like, remember that? I do not remember. I don't recall.
Yeah.
It's not that like I just have a bad memory, but it's like I consciously make a decision at all times. If something is not, if I'm not bringing it forward with me to the future, I surrender it now. So I don't, my mind doesn't get cluttered with a bunch of like bullshit from like I literally every night before I go to sleep, I'll surrender. What shit did I hear this week that is stupid? That it is not gonna help me, that made me feel bad, that like I don't wanna even leave. Somebody said, oh, you know, isn't it dangerous to be traveling right now with everything that's going on? Like, you know, I went to get a haircut, one of these barbers saying that. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, isn't it dangerous? Like, aren't you scared? Of what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
The news, everything's going. I'm like, nah, yo, everywhere I go, I'm incredibly safe. Don't worry. And that night, I literally was like, it popped in my mind when I was like surrendering shit. I was like, that's a stupid way to think of life. I'm like, boom, false, let it go, like, done, next. You know,
And a lot of people live like that. They live in fear.
Yeah, they do,
because
bro.
of like the propaganda put out by the media, and you know, I think it's definitely intentional to keep people
100%, 100%.
where they're at.
It's dude, I was actually thinking about this the other day. We were in Colombia. Me and my brother just kind of having like a very like almost like enlightening conversation, just kind of thinking of the bigger things of life. And I was like, bro, think about this. Like, I like to view life as like a game. I'm like, if you were in the game, if you were winning, or like, you know, your team was winning for a long time, wouldn't you, instead of just trying to keep winning, wouldn't you try to like set up like traps or like set up ways to just make it easier for you to win? Like, wouldn't you just like change the rules of the game, but not actually change the rules of the game, right? You can't change the world, change the universe, but like, wouldn't you try to change the perception of how people perceive the rules of the game? So other people like essentially are getting eliminated by default, getting disqualified by default. I'm like, wouldn't you do that? Like, just if you wanted to win, if your only goal is to win.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that just makes logical sense. And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, actually, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, think about it. Like, think about all this shit that we see, bro.
Yeah.
Propaganda, all these fucking just crazy fucking, so much shit. I'm like, I don't even know what I want to say. I don't want this podcast canceled. Like, you know what I'm saying?
There's no fucking boundaries, man.
Like, you know, whatever it is, bro. Whether it's
Yeah.
like, you know, transgender pride, whether it's like, you know, fucking the COVID, like
Yeah.
all these things that have people just being their like most whack self, out of alignment, out of energy. Females being over alpha, males being over beta, like
Yeah.
just everybody's energy all fucking screwed up. I'm like, but if you're in charge of the fucking, not in charge of the game, but if you've been winning the game for a while and you had enough time to understand the patterns of how this damn game works, why not just fucking wipe out 90% of the competition? Because when you, let's say we're going back, right, hundreds of years, like, you know, because a lot of the power in the world is like family ties, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And it's like, if you've been like your first few ancestors who started to really get power, they've been in that shit. They had to really fight tooth and nail.
Yep.
Like, it was even competition, even playing field. But like very quickly, they probably realized if it's always an even playing field, like somebody's better, smarter, quicker is gonna come and like take our shit, because that's what we did to the people in front of us.
Yep.
So let's just like set up this game where like they can't do that, because we will just take control of all the necessary things we need to, you know, control the information, and that great information travels through emotion essentially, right? And so what do? You create these mass frenzy, panics, attack, like things that high emotion, boom, information travels really fast.
Yep.
So you start spewing out a bunch of fucking stupid information, irrelevant shit, thing that makes no sense while people are in these high, frantic, panic states. And then next thing you know, it's like, bam, the whole world believes in fucking COVID within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Bam, the whole world's like, transgender this, transgender that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, I like to live my life off principles. If I were to believe in what you're saying, and everybody were to believe in what you're saying right here, right now, and then the next generation were also to believe that, we're all gone in one generation, bro.
Oh yeah.
Like, stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's not like, and the fact that you think that your life like your own personal selfish wants, selfish needs, selfish desires are more important than like the prolongment of human life forever. Because of how you feel. Life's not about this. Life's not about this. Life's about this. No, what do you mean, bro? We're animals. Yep. Humans are fucking animals. We're animals with like a little freaking dash or sprinkle of God in it, a little sprinkle of angel in it, right? Like animals. If animals were to make those decisions, extinct. Boom, world's empty now. Fuck, restart the game. We all try over again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I'd like to boil things down to like the principles. What's the principles and what mindsets allow, or what frames of looking through the reality allow you to operate off these principles and create tremendous results, but like that are beyond time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a mindset that's instilled that's irrelevant based off of everything else. It's just like, if I live my life of principles, it don't matter the context, it don't matter the event, it don't matter the person, it don't matter this. Like, these will take me another day, another week, another month, another year, whatever, another generation, And I got ADHD too, so this conversation goes,
it goes very quick and all over the place. But you make very clear, concise points, and you very, very knowledgeable about energy, frequency, and that's what I love hearing you speak about, man. Because it's just like I could hear the passion. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what drives you. And
right. Yeah. I think all humans, because I know for a fact all humans deep down know the truth of who they are, what they are, and maybe not necessarily being able to put it in words and explain it, but they know. Yeah. Like, if you describe like how you manifested something, how you created something, how one day you were thinking of an opportunity, and then next day somebody just literally gave you the opportunity, and you're like, holy shit, I was just thinking about that. You tell that to any human being, bro. They're going to be able to tell you multiple events in their life that the same thing happened, but it's just different content. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, when I see that, which is why like we get excited when we talk about it with other people, because it's familiar. Like, oh, I know that. I remember that. That's true. Right? Where when you hear something that's not true, it's not familiar, it don't make you feel like that. Yeah. Somebody's like, that's why people very quickly realize the whole propaganda with like COVID, the whole propaganda with like this whole transgender shit, this is that. Like all these propagandas, people are starting to wake up because they're like, that don't feel right. Yeah. That doesn't feel true.
It's not natural either.
Right. And so when people are in the media are trying to shove it down people's throats, even with the whole like Tate situation, like the what's it called? The media is trying to present one story while like he's portraying it different and telling a different story, and people are starting to catch on like, that don't feel right, bro.
And they play the same playbook. It's like they have the same playbook. They get some ex-girlfriends to basically cry wolf, and it discredits the actual victims of like those real situations. But they run the same playbook, and then when you run the same playbook over and over and over again, eventually people catch on. They're like, this is just bullshit. And then
bro.
It's just fucked.
And that's what I was saying before. It's like the pattern recognition, like 1, 2, 3. You got people now catching those patterns. And in the age of social media and the internet, information travels so fast. I read something that the average human is consuming 100 to 1,000 times more information a day than they used to consume like 100 years ago in a lifetime. Yeah. Because of the internet. And so things are just fast. People are starting to realize, people are being able to find, like, for example, people may have had a breakthrough before and like, this is how I think the world works, or this is how I think vibration works, this is how I think business works. They just had to fucking wing it. They couldn't go find the confirmation or the validation to be like, okay, no, I'm on the right path. It was just like, all right, bro, just keep following that path. And like, if then you fucked up, you fucked up. Shit, better luck next life, right? But now people are able to find other people that think the same, view the same, and be able, and also a lot of seeds are being planted all the time. Our mind is a freaking garden, and seeds are being planted by anything and everybody. It's our jobs to keep the fucking weeds out and pluck them and remove them. But at all times, you may hear something right now. You may believe in the propaganda day one, but maybe one of your buddies is like, hey, bro, I think X, Y, Z, you should, just keep it in mind. Yeah. That seed's been planted. And now because that vibration is there, unconsciously, you're going to start to experience more events. And on a psychological level, see those confirmation biases that may, reinforce that. And eventually you have that like, boom, what the fuck was I thinking? Yeah. Right? But the seed was planted. Back in the day, it's a lot easier to control the world, control the masses when you're the only motherfucker planting seeds and they don't have anybody else planting positive seeds. Like, you're not even planting seeds. Those motherfuckers are planting weeds.
Yeah.
And nobody's putting freaking flowers in there, you know? And so I think with the social media and the internet today, it's making it a lot easier. It's like the rich get rich, the poor get poor. It's like the people who have the ability to get smarter are going to continue to get smarter. The people who are stupid are going to continue to get more stupid because they're going to get sucked into the freaking media trap. And then the people over here who are actually exploring and learning and evolving are going to continue doing that, and they're going to just get more wise, you know?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think we're running a little late on time, but, brother, I'd love to hear 3 books that you can recommend that impacted you personally.
My favorite question, I got a lot of books over the years, but over the last 2-3 years, I've had a couple books just come in and smack those, you know, the top ones off. Number one, and I need everybody, if they're listening to this right now, to go on Amazon and go buy this book. Cherish the book. Read it like 3, 4, 5, 6 times, because your first time reading it, it's likely not going to make a lot of sense. But if you continue to read it, it'll soak in your mind. Your mind will start to understand. Your mind will expand. And I really like this book too because I've also started hearing a lot of other big entrepreneurs in space, industry legends, talk about this book in the last year out of nowhere. Like I said, I read 2 years ago.
I know what you're going to say, but I'll let
Power vs. Force.
Okay, no, that was
Power vs. Force. So this is the number one.
Okay.
This book explains the quantum physics, and it merges like all the misconceptions and like the arguments and stupid things that people go back and forth about with religion, and it merges that with the science of quantum physics, and it brings it to the happy medium where you can actually be like, oh, okay, it's not like this or it's like that, and everybody who reads it be like, no, this makes sense, and without having to like shit on one religion and shit on the other religion, it actually makes everything make sense because it's like it brings the more context, it gives more context because like a lot of people try to read these spiritual books, and it's black and white. It's not black and white. People who wrote it were enlightened. You're not enlightened, so anything they say, you're not going to understand. This merges that. Yeah. So Power vs. Force by Dr. David Hawkins. I've read all of his books. Amazing. Again, it goes into the quantum stuff. He's a scientist, 2 doctorate degrees. Second one, Reality Transurfing.
Okay.
This one's fucking amazing. I believe, and like I said, Patrick Bet David talked about Power vs. Force. Iman Gassi talks about Reality Transurfing. He said that's the first book that changed his life. So a lot of big people in the space, they're like, these are the books. Reality Transurfing, I read that this year actually. And what that did was it gave me like kind of, not dumbed down, but it gave me a more easier way to understand the concept of Power vs. Force, because Power vs. Force is very like science and like scientific, like this is how it works, this is how it works. Right. But it didn't give me like necessarily the ways of how to apply. Reality Transurfing gives you the ways of how to apply. And which, if you were to read these books, you would understand everything I'm saying, like on this.
So which one
podcast.
do you recommend reading first?
I recommend reading Power vs. Force.
Okay.
Just because that alone will like, you'll feel like you've been awakened. You're like, well, what the fuck? Holy shit. Because like you'll understand yourself. You have so much clarity about yourself. Like within the first couple pages, you're like, holy fuck, dude. Like you'll literally be like, I feel like this book has described everything I never knew how to explain, but I always knew. And that's how you'll feel. The third book, man, the third book is almost like a tie. Shit.
Name them both.
Okay. It's a 3-way tie.
Okay.
How to Win and Influence Friends.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot.
Persuasion. Right? Persuasion is like, I believe it's like Persuasion, the secrets of like influence or something like that. So it's like pre-framing something. Don't try to persuade somebody something. It's too late. You persuade them by setting up the proper frame so they're already fucking sold before you even have to like, try to persuade them. They're already persuaded. Right. And then the last one is Influence, which is written by the same author as Persuasion. So Influence, the psychology of persuasion, I believe it is. Dude, these books, I'm big into psychology, big into fucking influence, big in like, if you understand the mind and you understand how to communicate, right? Because you cannot not communicate. Yeah. At all times, you're either influencing somebody or being influenced by somebody or something. You cannot not influence, you cannot not communicate. Yeah. So if you understand communication with yourself, with others, you're gonna understand the world. Everything else, automatic. Flow state, automatic, because you understand like why people do the things they do, but you also understand how to get them to do the things you want them to do, because you believe that those things are better for them to do because you know more than they do, right? So when I look at people, I'm like, dude, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing in his life. Like, he needs to listen to me. Now, if I tell him he needs to listen to me, he's not gonna listen to me. But I need to frame this information in a way where he knows he should listen, because he understands that my way of going through the world is a better way, and that if he were to subscribe to my way, he'd have a better life.
That's powerful, brother. I cannot thank you enough for hopping on and just sharing that wisdom, and it was a pleasure.
Sir.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you,
Yes,
man.
sir.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.